And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who, if I had 100 of them, like my chances against the gorilla. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How you doing?
Doing good, Kieran. A nice little win for the Tigers today, right? How about the Javi Baez grand slam, a Colt Keith homer? My bold prediction: it wouldn't take until May 24th for Colt to homer this year. It did take until April 30th, but hey, he got it out of the way, and it was good and kind of important to see. And the Tigers avoid the sweep from the Astros. Now you got the Angels. Now you got the Rockies. You want to improve that road record. You have a few games going coming up that should give you a chance to do it.
Yeah, today was oddly like a sense of urgency a little bit. You could tell like there wasn't a whole lot of fooling around. You obviously you get down one pitch in, right? You get down one pitch in, and you get the lead back quickly with that Colt Keith monster shot. By the way, not just any old home run. That, like you said, that was good to see. And then and kind of Javi doing Javi. That's a ball off the plate. That's a pitch that in AAA. That it's not resulting in a home run a whole lot, but you give Javi an inch and he takes a mile sometimes. Sometimes you give him an inch and he swings for a mile. But right now, it's all positive for Javi. He's basically a 300. We're going to talk about him a little bit later because I think there's a larger picture thing with Javi that nobody's talking about that I think is worth just kind of like, throwing out there a little bit.
It's a good tease.
Yeah, that's a good tease right there. So, but yeah, 7-4 victory today, Wednesday goes. You feel good going to Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and I thought today like you kind of needed to get like a different dose of an experience. So what I mean by that is you were down early, like I said earlier, and then you take the lead, and then it's you fending them off as opposed to what happened on Tuesday where you're down the majority of the game and then you kind of make this late little comeback. This was by no means a seamless victory. That it did get dicey there for a little bit. Tommy Kahnle comes in, shuts the door down, but yeah, why don't we just start with Jackson Jobe because he was our FanDuel player spotlight, and Jackson Jobe continues to kind of be a guy that is figuring it out. And I don't know him personally. I don't know anything about his like personality or anything like that, but I almost don't want him out there with a big lead. It was in his young career. In his young career, it's already happened twice where he's early on gotten a big lead. His first start of the season, and then this just happened there. Because I think there's a natural human element to being up 7-1. And I think and especially on the road, like the crowd's out of it. There's not like as much on every pitch, and both those happen on the road, by the way. I just kind of want to see him like kind of pitch in tighter situations as much as possible early on because I think that's going to pay off more down the line. And we talked about him, we're all thinking about stuff with him down the line yesterday. That's going to pay off for him down the line a little bit more than trying to just kind of starve off any desperate attempts during blowouts or whatever, where there's just so much time. And then the calculation with the bullpen is ever changing because it's like, do we really want to use these arms? Oh, now we have to start using these arms. And I want to see him pitch in tighter games, if that makes sense. This like when you're still in April and now May. That's just a theory I have.
I just want to see him pitch in general. I mean, I get why the Tigers did this. They're pushing him back, but 12 days between starts today, he looked to me like a guy who hadn't thrown in 12 days. He was just a little bit rusty. I think 4 walks that were kind of the killer for his day. He didn't use the curveball at all, or he threw one, which I guess was part of the game plan. Houston's got a pretty right-handed lineup, but that's still kind of waiting for that pitch to click. That was supposed to be the big thing for him. Hasn't quite happened yet. I didn't have any other strong feelings about his outing. It was fine. The stuff was good at times. He threw a lot of sliders, but the execution was far from pristine. And I think it's because he looked a little bit rusty.
Yeah, again, he looks rusty, and then you have a big outing, and again, like there's just like I wanted to see him kind of pitch under more pressure when you haven't pitched in 12 days. I guess is a way to put it.
Oh,
But
so the offense shouldn't score runs, or what?
well, they could do it for Reese Olson, who's got a career with the Tigers of not having great run support. Jackson's kind of spoiled if you think about it. So yeah, I mean, I understand you got to go out there and you got to execute either way. But in terms of what I'm looking for big things, being that it's April 30th, big things down the line, I want him in as many tight situations as possible. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, go ahead and score the runs, but I just want to see Jackson in those specific type of situations, especially when we're in the midst or we just finished like some pitching rotation reconfiguration, and now we're going and we will have some more moving forward, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the hitting side because you don't score 7 runs without having some good hitting after a word from our sponsors. So I guess we could start out with this, Cody. What was a more significant first, not for what it did for the game, but in terms of what you're liking to see and what you hope, though, if you're the Tigers, what you hope it turns into? Better first home run of the season, the Baez or the Colt? What do you think? What's bigger
I'm
deal?
going to go Colt Keith because he crushed the ball, like you said. It was a pull side shot in the air. That's the thing the best version of Colt Keith needs to do more. For as well as Javi Baez has been playing, and look, the homer count's all the same. It was a grand slam. It was awesome. It had a 40-degree launch angle. It was only a homer in 4 major league parks. He's really thinking the Crawford boxes. There's still kind of a question like how much power can Javi generate? Um, in a way, good to see him get on the board with a homer, but in a way, it's like that ball barely got out. One of the shortest left fields in baseball. It doesn't really answer the question as much as Colt Keith's shot does. Obviously, being able to replicate it is the big thing here, but I think Colt Keith needed that. I think everyone needed to see that from Colt Keith, and just the fashion, the no doubt shot. And I think that was. I just think it stood out to me. It seems like a reminder of what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Because you're coming into the season, and what we're seeing just in general is a lot different. But regardless of what we've experienced this season and what the expectations were to try to get the best version out of this team, both involve Colt Keith's bat working well, right? And he
Yeah,
still is kind of a guy. Surprisingly, he's kind of a guy without out of place with the
100%.
way that he had been hitting or lack thereof, and the not really having a true position because Glaber's obviously at second. Spencer, you got to play at first base because you can't play anything else, and you can't really get away with, in my opinion, the Colt Keith that we had been seeing as your pretty regular DH. Like I just
Well, obviously not. No.
so like that's something that you hope can kind of turn into something. And you said Anaheim, and then after that, Colorado. Those are 2 of the worst pitching teams in baseball. Anaheim has a 4.88 ERA as a team, and Colorado has a 5.3 ERA as a team. So you're hoping that this is kind of the start of something. Maybe I know it's still technically April when this happened, but maybe it's just like, all right, he got his month slump kind of like out the way a little bit, and then once the calendar turns to May, he starts to figure a couple things out. You know who has figured some things out, or at least when it comes to playing in Houston, is one Riley Green. And so it's not a whole lot of analysis to be had other than Riley Green is on. He's hot. 7 for 12 in this series, Cody, obviously with the 2 home run game on Monday. And I mentioned the 2 home run game. Obviously, we've talked about it a little bit already, but today was kind of like it was him being like, we got this full spectrum version of Riley Green as a hitter in this series. And that's what I am most encouraged by, because we know that there's contact skills there. We know that there's power skills there. And we know that there's like kind of the ability to, the hitability is there, right? Just overall, you combine it, and we got that this week. I would have been a little bit more concerned if he was just all or nothing, power to strike out. I would have been concerned if we still didn't see a whole lot of power that we hadn't been seeing. This is the first time since the very beginning of the year that he had 7 hits in a 3-game span. So it's, we're talking about a month, or beginning of the year, beginning of the season. Like, we're talking about a month where he hadn't really been able to string together, and we got the full Riley Green spectrum there. And that's something that I was very glad to see.
Yeah, it just looked like he was staying on the ball better, kind of keeping that front shoulder in, keeping the head down on the baseball, and as a result, he was driving it a little bit. We're still at a point in the year where you can change the scoreboard numbers pretty quickly. For as brutal as a lot of April felt, few good games. Riley's now hitting, I think, 261. The OPS is back up over 750, and you kind of have a feeling this could be the start of a little bit of a prolonged tear. He's certainly capable of going on. Obviously, huge for this team. We talked about them being put to the test a little bit. A great way to ace that test is to get Riley Green going. I don't have a ton of analysis beyond that. I was waiting for this to happen, and now here it is.
Yeah, exactly. And all this stuff that we've talked about over the past like month or whatever, we can turn the page and say that we have now witnessed the greatest April, and I'm including the March games because it's not really any point to talking about their March record, right? Like the greatest April of the AJ Hinch era. So they're 19-12. They scored 145 runs. That's by far better than any output that AJ Hinch Tiger team had done. There's some, 8-19 in his first year. Next year, 7-13. Like 64 runs in the month of April in 2022. Like just like some bad, not great watching baseball. And now and I kind of bring that up because it's, in the grand scheme of things, like relatively meaningless. But at the same time, I feel like we now have the perfect encapsulation, like the full 5-finger imprint of AJ Hinch on this team, where the team is playing exactly all these things that we had heard for years. We were wondering whether that they would, A, when you got better, you're still going to do it. B, how S word is it? And now we have all those coaching points working in unison with an AJ Hinch team that has one of the best records in the American League going into the second month of the season. So as we go into May, I just think it's worth noting.
Do you know, Kieran, the last time the Detroit Tigers won 18 games in the month of April?
I'll say 2012.
1984.
Oh, anything happening?
Pretty good year. It was a nice year for the ball club. Yeah, you said 5-finger imprint, so just one finger each year. AJ was able to lay on this team. No, it's a great April. It's encouraging. It'll probably be good for attendance at the ballpark all summer. We've talked about it. The reason I'm probably more encouraged than ever. The reason this team has pretty quickly kind of won me over is the fact this isn't even their full ball club. Like, they're going to get some of their best players back. Obviously, that comes with the caveat, like, will Riley Green stay healthy? Will Kerry Carpenter stay healthy? Does your pitching stay healthy when you get Meadows, Vierling back? But the fact you've done this and played this well with Javi Baez in center field, with Zach McKinstry playing every single day, playing a ton against left-handers, it's just really impressive. I'm sure there will be a lull at some point this year, but big picture, you can still see this kind of going up as the year goes along.
Yeah, and baseball has a way of kind of making you forget about some of the things, like how shorthanded they are. And I'll be honest, like I was reading Ken Rosenthal's column, general baseball column, big part about that in the about the Tigers, and I had just kind of like I just forgot. I feel ashamed to admit this. I kind of forgot about Jake Rogers. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah, never thought I would say that, but Dingler has stepped in, looked completely capable, and Tomas Nido is like we've talked about it before. He's like a legit backup. Jake, in a way, hasn't really been missed, at least on the field that much, which is kind of a testament to Dylan Dingler and a testament to the Tigers' depth.
Yeah. So like there's at various points 3 to 4 like starters that you're out without, I should say. And here you are 19 and 12 going into May, and you hope that it becomes like a really good road trip, because as we talked about yesterday, all these road trips have been against playoff teams or playoff like fringe teams. Now you go to Anaheim, which was a nice story for a second, but I hope Mike Trout's okay. I don't know the update. I saw he left the game today.
Got some knee soreness,
Knee
whatever
soreness.
that means.
Okay, so I hope he's okay, obviously for a million reasons. And then Colorado is, kind of speaks for itself there. Nothing else needs to be said about that. So you hope that wraps up pretty well for the Tigers. Now, we are going to talk about a roster configuration element that I just want to throw out there. It's just a theory that I want to throw out there. No one else is talking about it. I just want to see what Cody thinks about it. But first, a word from our sponsors.
If you want a razor that looks good, makes you look good, gets the shave done, and doesn't cost much,
Oh,
is it nice?
that's a hairy John, and you can smell it too. Smell it, John. Smell it.
Oh wow, what
After
is
See,
that?
that's Harry's. That's the shave gel. I'm telling you. Look, I mean, this.
You look scary, man.
It's the shot.
Fresh.
Now, come in. Get this.
I don't want to touch this head anymore. Oh my god,
Soft it is.
That looks like
it is
German
soft.
engineered blades made
It
in their
is
own
soft.
factory that stay sharp longer.
I'm using the razor, and it does not. You can start to feel when
Yeah,
it gets dull. I mean, you guys only do like here and like up here.
true.
I'm doing acreage. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
All right, coming back here, Cody. Javier Baez. I had planned on talking about this before he hit the grand slam today and is the headliner of the win. Are we sure his shortstop days are done?
No.
Because the Trey Sweeney piece of this, what's the calling card of having Trey Sweeney as your everyday shortstop right now?
In theory, defense.
In theory, defense. He is in the 32 percentile in range. This is according to Baseball Savant. 19 percentile in arm strength. His fielding run value is in the 41 percentile. And as I pull up his fielding stats here in a second, it's not something that somebody who is hitting, what's he hitting right now? 198. It's not Parker Meadows level defense at shortstop. So we had kind of, because of all these other elements that have been going on, we was like, Javi in center, Javi at third base. By the way, outs above average for Javier at third base is 2, 1 in center field in a very obviously short time frame. Catch percentage, expectancy +6 above expectancy, so +6% for Javier in center field. So just putting that out there too. So there's range, there's instincts, blah blah. We've talked about it. He might be needed at shortstop because you can't right now. You obviously got to pick your spots if you're AJ, just like you do for basically every player, not in the top 3 of your hitting hierarchy. But right now, I'm finding it hard to just have to put Sweeney in the lineup when Javier is hitting this way. And if you get Vierling back, you don't know. Everyone assumes he's going to maybe go to third base right now. I don't know.
I don't think he's going to play much third base because McKinstry's going to go back to some third base. We'll see if Jace Young stays up. I think these are, people keep asking me what happens when Vierling gets back, or even Manuel Margot might be the first guy back if the Tigers do choose to activate him and put him on the big league roster. Jahan is a guy who could go down. He's hitting below 200, although he's still taking walks, 366 OBP, and he's above 100 WRC plus. And you kind of know he's just scratching the surface of what he can do. So I don't know that I love that. Jace is a guy who can go down. I don't think the Tigers are going to be looking to pull the plug on Trey Sweeney, but when you get 2 or 3 of these guys back, it could be a conversation. Right now, Javier is playing well, and I think at the very least you're going to want to keep him active, engaged. A little more of a timeshare at shortstop between Javi and Sweeney certainly seems like an option to me. Glaber's going to be playing second base most days. I don't think we're going to see Javi there. Third's within the realm of possibility, maybe center still, but if his bat is still producing to some degree, no, I think we could see Javi a lot at shortstop.
Yeah. And again, something that we kind of written off a little bit, the majority.
Yeah. And the weird thing, Kieran, is they probably can't do a traditional platoon because Trey Sweeney's hitting very poorly against right-handed pitching and he's hitting well against left-handed pitching. So I don't know exactly how that would work. There are some strange roster wrinkles coming up. I'm not even sure the Tigers know exactly what the plan of action is going to be until they get there.
Yeah, which hopefully this is kind of the month that everybody kind of had penciled in. You start to get, Vierling, hopefully you get the medical update that he's going to start some rehab assignments and he's not the only one that we'll talk about, but it's something. It's something. And that ties in. We asked for a couple questions. Thank you guys for sending in questions. One of them, we'll just address it right here because we kind of already have. When Vierling returns, is it automatic that Young is sent down, or is it possible based on Javi's doing, Sweeney or Keith will be sent down? And what about the Manuel Margot piece of this? I don't see the Keith element. Well, I still don't see. Hopefully, like I said, he gets going with the bat. But the Sweeney thing, I think is up there as anything. I continue to be impressed based on expectations with Young in the field, and I just think eventually, if you want to get the best use out of Young as an asset, you have to give him major league run. That's the only way you're ever going to figure out if the bat truly has some playability. So if not now, then I don't really know when, if that makes sense. So that, and then Margot, tough to say. Tough to say. He was here and gone so quickly that he did have moments. I saw the vision when he was playing. But do you feel like you miss Margot? You see what I'm saying? So
if I ran the team, and I think I'd send Margot to Toledo. That's no offense to Manuel. It's just, I think you summed it up well. Do you really miss him right now? Who do you want to take off the roster to put Manuel on? I have a hard time seeing it. Some of these other, this is why it's hard. Keith is not going to Toledo still. It's taken him a while to pick it up. He did just homer, but he is someone who's not fitting well in the roster puzzle because of circumstance right now. And I think Jahan, the Tigers, man, they really don't like playing him in the field. So he's not functioning super well in the roster puzzle. But you have too much invested in Keith. Jahan, I think, is certainly susceptible, but there's some upside there. There's some temptation to give Young runway, but I think he's very much susceptible. If I were running the team, I think I might send Trey Sweeney down before any of those guys. But I think they like Trey Sweeney to the point he's going to be like the new Zach McKinstry, the guy everyone's, including myself, is kind of trying to take off the roster, and he's just going to stick around because they really like what he can do. He's going to have to pick it up, I think, at the plate a little bit. Obviously, the field has to be more reliable, but I think it's in there with the glove where there's more of a question with the bat. So to answer that question, I guess my answer is I don't know. I wouldn't say it's 100% lock that Jace Young is going down, but maybe I kind of still get the feeling that's the most likely scenario. But we'll see if the Tigers front office, gets creative once again.
Well, we'll move on to another question because this question is all about creativity, and it has to do with Alex Cobb. Speaking of out of sight, out of mind, is from Martin Boonstra. Previous question from Ron Garrett. Shout out to everybody who sent us something. Alex Cobb will eventually be coming back. The Tigers have a high-performing 5-person rotation with Montero as the 6th starter / call-up. What happens when Cobb returns? Could he be in the bullpen? That's a $15 million question. What happens when Alex Cobb returns?
I think you don't pay guys $15 million to just go to the bullpen, but there's not a pitcher you can take out of this rotation right now, and I think that all adds up to the Tigers probably aren't in a huge hurry to get Alex Cobb back up. The last I heard on this, the team itself didn't really have a plan of action because who knows what things are going to look like in another month or whenever he might be ready to be activated. Also, it sounded like he still wasn't moving well. Like the ball's coming out okay, but maybe the lower half, the mechanics or just the speed he's moving down the slope is a little bit of a concern right now. So, man, we're going to see. I mean, I don't want to wish this on Alex Cobb. Okay, I'm not wishing this on Alex Cobb, but could you see a world where it hits our inbox one day, Alex Cobb has encountered a setback? It just kind of has that feeling about it too. And if he does get up here, like I say, I think it's one of those things that could work itself out. Someone else is going to get injured. Someone else is going to pull a hamstring or a groin. You might need a little spell of Alex Cobb. But Alex Cobb has to get healthy and be knocking on the door to be activated before there's any urgency to this discussion. And I think that's kind of how the Tigers themselves feel about it right now.
Yeah, that's a really good answer because a really good answer for something that we literally just don't have the ability to answer. This comes from YouTube, our YouTube page, Tiger Territory on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. We talked about Zach McKinstry, getting overexposed, but what is the line between riding the hot hand and potentially overexposing him and exposing his weaknesses? Now, McKinstry, great profile Cody wrote about McKinstry, the man and the player on The Athletic. You guys should go read that. He's a 1.5 WAR player right now with a 326 average.
Just like we all predicted.
And 162 OPS plus. So yeah, plus the defensive versatility and the ability in the running game and the clubhouse presence. It's all coming up. It's all coming up great for Zach McKinstry. But I do feel like I understand the premise of that question, and that question is right. But I think the answer to that question is it's all going to happen naturally regardless, because the hot hand is being ridden right now by AJ.
Mm-hmm.
But also AJ's not just going to put him in situations where he is highly likely to fail. This balance that AJ has struck is going to continue, and eventually he will cool off, or he'll go on to have a really surprising Hall of Fame career. One of the two. But Zach McKinstry is likely going to cool off, and he'll settle into a role that we more or less know Zach McKinstry to have. And that'll be okay too, right? So I just think the answer to this question is it will definitely just happen naturally.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer to the question. I think the return of Matt Vierling in itself, McKinstry's playing time will probably go down a little bit. But the amazing thing is, Kieran, he has not been overexposed yet. He's been playing almost every day, and he's riding a 10-game hitting streak. And most remarkably, he's hitting 393 with an OPS above 1,000 against left-handed pitching. If you would have told me Zach McKinstry's going to have a great April, he's going to crush righties, I would have been like, okay, I believe that. I would have not have thought he'd be playing every day against lefties and destroying lefties. That seems like something that's bound to correct, but if pitchers have changed their attack against McKinstry, I haven't necessarily noticed it, and it sure does not seem to have phased him yet. So whatever the point of overexposure is, we are not there at all yet with McKinstry. To your point, it might work out well where just when he starts cooling down, you're going to have some reinforcements, and there's not going to be that urgency to play him every single day. But he continues to kind of defy expectations, and that's a great testament to him. It's been a ton of fun to watch. He deserves all the credit for it.
All right. It would not be, like NBA playoffs are going on right now, so everything the Lakers play tonight, so we don't know what happens in that series. But everything LeBron, you have to bring up Jordan, right? It's just like play the hits, for the algorithm and for the rating. So it's not a Tigers mailbag. Why'd I bring that up? It's not a Tigers mailbag without a Skubal extension question. So this question, and we gotta play the hits. This question is it's kind of regarding the Ilitch Scott Harris relationship. If Harris It's from Oscar Hightower. If Harris goes to Ilitch and says this contract is worth it both money and on the field results wise, and I want to sign, being Harris, wants to sign Skubal long term, what does Ilitch say? And basically, would he trust Scott Harris in that instance? If you're willing to sign off on 30-year-old Alex Bregman for that long of a deal with no emotional attachment to the guy, I kind of feel like if Harris went to Ilitch would sign off on this. But you're there, you see these people, you talk to them in some capacity over the years. I'd be more curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have much insight into the mind of Chris Ilitch. I can give you a lot of insight on all these other factors. Hard to know, but I think the fact the Tigers offered Bregman 6 years does just change like my perspective a little bit. If Ilitch was willing to do that, why wouldn't he be willing to sign a Skubal extension? You're going to be talking a little bit of a different ballpark in terms of the money. I mean, you'd be talking 450 million, maybe more. Like it could be a massive, massive deal, assuming Tarik stays healthy and continues to pitch at an all-star to Cy Young level. It's going to be maybe a record contract for a pitcher because he's going to be worth it. I'm not sure Chris Ilitch would tell Scott Harris, no, you can't do that, especially when the team continues to play well, especially when you don't have other contracts weighing you down like in that time frame. By the time we're on that side of the Skubal deal, Javi will be long gone. But I keep coming back to the ball is not really in the Tigers' court here. It's in Tarik Skubal's court, and more importantly, it's in Scott Boras's court. It's not impossible, but it just feels like a low percentage chance that any offer would be accepted by their camp, or at the very least, they'll say, "Hey, that's a great offer. We're still going to go to free agency." And then maybe it'll be up to the Dodgers and the Yankees and the whoever else in a couple years' time to see if they want to beat what the Tigers could put on the table. It's a weird, tricky situation. I think Chris Ilitch and Scott Harris could put forward great effort to extend Skubal. That still doesn't mean it's going to happen, and it might not ultimately be their fault.
Sure. And, Skubal, 9th round pick, multiple arm injuries, both pre and during his professional career. He's going to want to maximize his value. And I
think he should.
We're a pro labor podcast, right? I haven't said that in a while. Pro labor podcast, more power to you for doing that. But if you want to be in Detroit, do that too. Whatever you want to do. All right, it's time for our FanDuel Player Spotlight. FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Use code baseball30. That offer is in the last couple days of use. So if you haven't done it so already, you got to do it. FanDuel.
What this offer means, it means you can watch the Tigers every day. So if you haven't figured out how to watch the Tigers every day, scan this QR code right here.
Exactly. And in theory, some of these guys we're about to mention will be on your screen. And that is one Matt Vierling. That is one Parker Meadows. That is one Wenzel Perez. And we'll throw Manuel Margot and Alex Cobb in there. They haven't been the player spotlight because they haven't been active. But considering that, time is running out to use this offer, I think it's good to sell it as, hey, these guys are going to be back eventually, and you're going to have to you're going to want to watch them. This might be your best opportunity to lay the groundwork for that. So Parker Meadows, Matt Vierling, Wenzel Perez, Manuel Margot, Alex Cobb together are our FanDuel Player Spotlight. You can go to FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Use code baseball30 for a 30-day extended free trial. That is baseball30. FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages.
Feel like we've already mentioned those guys a lot on the pod. I was going over the Tigers' latest medical update. It's very long, so I feel like my brain did not even retain all that information. Bo Brisky threw a rehab outing Wednesday. I think he just went, it was a shorter one. John Brebbie is scheduled to throw a bullpen session. Alex Cobb completed a bullpen session. He's got another one coming up Friday. Manuel Margot beginning a rehab assignment here Wednesday evening. Parker Meadows not quite there yet. Winsel Perez, he's advanced to tee and coach flips in the cage. I gotta love that level of detail. Matt Vierling is still progressing in the throwing program. A name we haven't been talking about a lot that I'm just going to bring up. You didn't mention him as part of the spotlight. Sawyer Gipson-Long.
Mm-hmm.
Sawyer Gipson-Long is making some nice progress through a live bullpen session and sounds like he could be ready at some point this summer. Now, tough to come straight back from Tommy John and just shove in the major leagues, right? It doesn't happen very often, but let me just tell you, being around Comerica Park, I keep hearing this guy's name. Tigers personnel, AJ Hinch, like they seem excited about getting Sawyer Gipson-Long back. Matt Vierling was talking about facing him, and he was like, I don't know what the radar gun was reading, but it looked like that ball was coming out hard for a guy who's still in the road to recovery from surgery. So if you want to throw another question in the air, what happens when Sawyer Gipson-Long gets back? I guess the good news is you don't have to put him in the major leagues right away, but it sure sounds like we could see him in Detroit at some point this summer, and it sure sounds like the Tigers kind of have low-key high expectations for him.
Very good nugget to wrap up this podcast. Wrap up April here at Tiger Territory. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page at Tiger Territory _ YouTube, Instagram, Apple, Spotify. Like, subscribe, rate, review. You guys know the drill. Thank you for following us along for the first month of the season. And we got a ton more to talk about as the summer unfolds. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.